Sound the alarm. We've got a sickness ship coming to Florida. And then we also have people that aren't going to be friends anymore over sickness. And we know who the godparents are of the Sun Princess. All right. No, it's an interesting set of stories today on the cruise show.
All aboard! Your ship is leaving. Talking about everything going on and cruising. It's the Lido Loca time. It's the cruise show. It's the cruise show.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Lido Loca. Welcome to the cruise show. I'm your host, Tony, here to talk you through everything going on in cruising. It's everything going on in cruising. It's for your face on a Tuesday, September the 30th, 2025. And let's talk about a ship that's making its way to Florida that had a bunch of sickies on it. The ship in question, Royal Caribbean Serenade of the Seas. This happened back on September the 19th, a 13-night cruise that departed from San Diego, California. There's now a report out there that's been logged by the CDC that at least 70 passengers have fallen sick on that cruise ship, fallen ill with the norovirus. And 70 passengers and one crew member for a total of 71 sick people. Cruise ship holds 1,874 passengers, 883 crew members. But I guess the 70, that's a level high enough to open up a case with the CDC. They'll check it out. Look, it's one of those things. There is norovirus on cruise ships. It is an outlier event. But that's why there are these different levels that when it rises to a certain level, the CDC has to open up a report. And then, of course, in response to that report, Royal Caribbean enacts their super duper cleaning protocols so that future guests on Serenade of the Seas will not get sick. Norovirus, pretty prevalent on land in places where there's communal gatherings, hospitals, schools, retirement communities, those kind of things. You see norovirus a lot. And then certainly cruising is a communal activity where once one person gets the norovirus, then other people often get it too. Like I said, I've got another sickness story at the end of the show where people have quit being friends. We got to figure out who's to blame for that. But I do want to show you this. All right, so the next part of the show is sponsored by the Cruise Globe. The Cruise Globe is my favorite tool for tracking my cruises. I've used a variety of tools, but I love the summary information that this tool gives. Before I show you how to add a cruise, look, just to date, I've added my cruises through 2023. I love the fact that it tells me how many nautical miles that I've sailed. I love the fact that it tells me how many days that I have cruised. And I love the fact that it tells me how many cruises and how many ships just in this really simple summary. If I click on the global passport, it's going to generate a really interesting graphic that I can share with others that talks about the different places that I have cruised. Let me show you how to add a cruise and then really the magic of this thing. I'm going to add my cruise that I just took on the Carnival Freedom. So if I type Freedom, I see Carnival Freedom. The start date for that cruise was just on the 22nd, and it started in Port Canaveral. So if I type Canav, I think it should show up Canaveral, Port Canaveral. There we go. And then the end date was the 27th in Port Canaveral. When I say submit, it's going to find my cruise. Doing it in real time. Let's see what it says. My cruise has been added. And now I see right on the screen what my route for this cruise was. On the screen, I can hit cruise replay here, and it's going to show my cruise. Check that out. We're leaving Port Canaveral. We're going over to Celebration Key. It's fascinating to me how this works out. And look at this. There's actually a keepsake physical component to the Cruise Globe. This is a ship card size map of my very first cruise on the Carnival Fantasy. They make these cruise cards. They also make full-size maps for your wall. Look, the cruiseglobe.com website is free to use. The app that you put on your phone is free to use. But if you do want to buy cruise cards or a map of your cruise, I have a discount code. If you go and use my code LIDOLOCA, you're going to save 10% off of any of those physical items. I feel like this is the best tool to use to track your cruises. Thank you, the Cruise Globe, for sponsoring today's episode. All right, now let's talk about a big announcement that came out from Princess Cruises today. They have announced the godparents of the new Star Princess. And I say godparents because there's a married couple has been announced as the godparents. Who could it be now? Who could it be? Of course, I gave you the hint earlier. It is Matthew McConaughey and his wife Camilla. They are going to be the godparents of the Star Princess. They're also the co-founders of the Pantalones Tequila, which is a partner brand on Princess. They will be present at the naming ceremony on November the 6th in Fort Lauderdale. I'm supposed to be there, so I'm excited to see Matthew McConaughey. I don't know. Do you have a favorite Matthew McConaughey performance? I like it. It's going to be interesting to see what that's like. Now, let's talk about the impacts of hurricanes on cruise ships. I've got two stories. I've got one that has a positive impact, and I have one that has a negative impact. Positive impact involves a Royal Caribbean cruise ship, Royal Caribbean's Enchantment of the Seas. It was scheduled to sail to the Bahamas this week, but because of the storm, it changed its itinerary and moved to a Western Caribbean sailing. And the movement of that itinerary from the Bahamas to the Western Caribbean put the Enchantment of the Seas right in the path of a raft full of people in the Caribbean Sea that were in distress. Enchantment of the Seas spotted these people in distress. They provided assistance. They sent out a lifeboat rescue craft, brought all the people on board the ship, took care of them, made sure that they were fine medically. And then in most of these cases, they're turned over to whatever authorities have the jurisdiction there. They don't stay on the cruise ship. But yeah, so that's definitely a lemons into lemonade situation where a changed itinerary has saved some people's lives. And then we have the tale of two Carnival ships and a bunch of passengers on board that are not having as good of time because of the weather. The Carnival Sunshine left from Norfolk, Virginia, and the Carnival Pride left from Baltimore. They were supposed to go to the Bahamas, warm weather sailing down to the Bahamas, to Bimini, to Nassau, to Celebration Key. Well, when guests arrived on board, they were told, I hope you have a sweater, because their itineraries changed from a southern-bound trip to the Bahamas to a northern-bound trip up the coast to Canada. How would you like that if you're all packed and loaded and ready for Celebration Key, and all of a sudden you're going to, Nova Scotia? As you can imagine, passengers on board not too excited. Carnival brand ambassador John Hill did mention that they were going to be giving these folks on board credit to ease the pain, but I've seen some of the commentary coming off of that ship, so people are unhappy. But it's one of those weird scenarios. If you cruise during storm season, which is June through November, one of the risks that you run is that your itinerary is going to be changed. There's always that big debate whether, when you show up and you find out your itinerary has changed, whether they should let you cancel immediately, but that's not necessarily a strong play for the cruise business. Because of the volatility of hurricane season, you can't have half your cruise ship cancel because people don't like the weather. There's potentially like 5,000 passengers that are impacted, depending on how many are actually sailing on these two ships. But I can imagine that's not exactly fun for those people that were hoping for a warm weather vacation. We started the show talking about sickness. We're going to end the show talking about sickness. Just a quick reminder, it's Tuesday night. We got our live shows tonight. If you're a part of our Patreon community, you can come to the exclusive Patreon show at 8 p.m. I'll be sending the link out in Patreon. It's a really great way to get some extra content. $5 a month. You get 2 or 3 extra of these live shows. Smaller crowd than the 9 o'clock show. Easier to get your comments in, that kind of thing. Feel free to go to patreon.com/La Lita Loca. Patreon show is at 8 p.m. And then the wide open big YouTube show is at 9 p.m. tonight. Me and the lovely Jenny B will both be there answering your cruise questions. We'll come up with some sort of topic between now and then, but we'd love to see you in the live shows. All right, we started with the sickies. Let's end with the sickies. This interesting letter was written to Dear Annie, which I'm not sure who Dear Annie is, but this is a wild one. My husband and I recently went on an 8-day cruise to Iceland with 2 close friends. We have been friends for more than 40 years. And we have traveled together many times. 2 days before we were to leave, I tested positive for the COVID. I went to urgent care, and the doctor told me I could still go on the trip. I began Paxlovid and wore a mask for the first 5 days. I'm just going to summarize the rest of it. Everybody got sick. Everybody got the same thing that the lady who had it to begin with. And guess what? Those lifelong 40-year-old friends took offense to the fact that she came on that cruise knowing that she was sick and that she got them sick and they're not friends anymore. I guess that's the question. Would you break up your friendship if your friend got you sick? Have you ever gotten anybody sick on a cruise? Yeah, I wouldn't even know what to tell the lady. Like, don't be surprised if you went on knowing you were sick and you got your friend sick, that they're not happy about it. Look, that's everything that's going on in cruising. I put the information about the cruise globes in the first comment and in the descriptions. Check that out. Thank you so much for checking out the episode today. This is Tony for the Wildly Loca, Tony for the Cruise Show. And until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.